Hi, this is Danielle and
Kyra.
And you're listening to Scrunchy-Fi, a show by mamas for mamas. Here we cover all the creative ways to make money, save money, and invest to reach financial freedom and live the life you want.
Hey, hi Danielle.
Hey.
Hey.
Good morning or afternoon for you.
Afternoon for me, Southwest Florida. Morning for you, Cali.
Yep.
Opposite coast, finding our way to financial independence.
Yep. High cost of living versus low cost of living. Who's going to get there first?
Hey. All right. The race is on.
Definitely.
So today we want to talk about financial dependence and how it's a journey. It's not just a number. It's not just a goal, even though we're marching towards it. But we've done some interesting things in our past, I think, that has started our journey and kind of probably led us to finding financial independence. I think we should talk about how we started making money as teenagers and if we did any money saving savvy things, so that maybe a mama could share that with her kids, and talk about affording college, what we did, and maybe what we would do differently these days, and especially for our own children, and talk about earning money as young adults, opening up our first 401k and trying to save money as young adults, and then finding FI. I know we kind of both found it a little bit later in our early adult years. So how did that change our lives, especially with starting families?
When did you make your first dollar? Do you remember?
Yeah, so I always had this like money hustling mindset, and luckily my younger sister like joined with me. So and my parents kind of were like, go do it, that's great. My father's an entrepreneur, so he was like, whatever you could do about making money, why not? So I remember, I think we were like 12, we printed out these flyers for babysitting, and we put it in people's mailboxes, which I think is actually illegal unless you're the mailman.
Yeah.
But we're like 12 years old, right? Nothing happened that year from those flyers, but a family saved it. And the following year they called us and we're like, hello, who's this? They're like, are you still babysitting? And we're like, we never even started babysitting because nobody called. So I was 13 and I was 13 and my sister was like 12, like just turned 12 or something. But that was apparently good enough to watch their like 5-year-old and 3-year-old. So that was our first like making money that we made. I split it with my sister. We didn't do much with that money. It was like, I'm pretty sure I blew it all in candy and like going to the movies.
Of course you did.
I mean, that was early on. As I got older, I mean, you're legally allowed to work in Florida at age 15. So what age is it there?
Oh, that would have hindered me a lot. Yeah, I was working in middle school, which I don't know if middle school is different there, but that's 11 to 13 here.
Is that legal?
Yeah, you get a work permit.
What?
Your parents sign off on your child labor. Oh yeah, I was going hard. I was at a organic ice cream shop making their cones.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
At 12 years old?
I mean, I actually started at 10, which
again,
legality, I don't know, but I won't say the name of the place. How about that? But let's say it may not have been illegal, but I was making some pretty good money. I think I was making like $8 an hour at 10 years old, and I spent it all on Spice Girl platforms. So that investment is in the landfill somewhere, unfortunately. If I had invested that money, my life would have been different. But hey, it was a great experience. But yeah, I ate a bunch of ice cream and I was there, like, unsupervised by anyone, making cones with very hot irons. And I mean, it's really funny. And I did that until I was 12.
Wow. That's so cool. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I had to do like, we did garage sales and just little, side hustles as kids to earn some money, until I turned 15, and then I could legally work. And then I started working in like fast food industry. So that was like $6 an hour.
Yeah.
It was, I guess, lower cost of living
Yeah.
kind of brings lower cost of income. What did I need that money for anyways? I mean, at 15, I did start saving I went with my sister and my grandfather to Puerto Rico to see
Oh,
our family there. And that was like my first international trip. And my mom was like, okay, you're working, save money for it. And I can't remember how much I saved, but I saved some money. But that was like my first like incentive, like to save money. So that was
wow.
really cool. Yeah. But then when I turned 16, I started to like make $1 more or something. And then 17, I started working 2 jobs. So then I started hustling and really saving and having a money goal because I wanted to go to college. So my parents were like, okay, you need to kind of pay your way a little bit with that. So you better start saving some of that money that you're working for. I remember opening up a 401k at 17. And I remember,
Oh, wow.
yeah, I asked my dad, I was like, there's like this thing. I don't even remember how did I get that information? I'm sure they gave it to everybody. He's like, yeah, that's great. You should open it. And pretty much nothing else came from that. And it was coming out of my paycheck. I didn't miss it. I was living at home, so I didn't really have a lot of expenses. So later on in my life, like I forgot about that 401k and it ended up like circling back to me and they're like, hey, you have this money, it's just sitting here. You need to do something with it because we're like done
Wow.
with you. So that was like, so I saved some money in that 401k, ended up like rolling it over. Um, but I was managed to save like $20,000 as a teenager.
What?
Yeah,
No way.
I
In
know.
the
I had to
401k.
go back and look. No, no, no. The 401k had like 1,000 because it was like,
Yeah.
oh, 6%, But
Yeah.
yeah, no, I managed to save like quite a big chunk of money that I took to college and spent all of
Wow.
it on very expensive private tuition. So crazy. Yeah.
Wow. $20,000. That's incredible. I did not save anything like that. I spent it all on traveling when I was that age. So it was still
So,
an investment in
oh,
my life enjoyment and exposure to other cultures. So
for sure.
it
Now,
was,
you mentioned that you like moved out of your parents' house at like a young age.
yeah,
So,
yeah, my life has been, I guess, unusual a little bit. But as far as like hustling and stuff, I not only was I doing so let's in the beginning when I started making money, my first dollars, I was opening up, remember the yellow pages in the phone book? I literally opened that. I called restaurants at 10 years old trying to get them to let me be a busser.
what?
How much I wanted money. I realized very early, like money gets you into things. It gets you stuff you want. And like my parents, they're not the source of that. I need
Mm.
to get it somewhere else. So I was like selling my drawings when I was young, a mother's helper, kind of babysitter with the
Wow,
home.
cool.
Washing my parents' cars for like $10. I cleaned the whole house. I was cleaning toilets at like 10 for money.
Wow.
So I was a hustler for sure, looking back.
That's such great skills to
It,
have.
yeah, I was just a very like independent kind of hustler, and so I got a job at a grocery store, an organic grocery store. So
Cool.
this is a scrunchy, crunchy, organic ice cream to organic grocery store, and I worked in like all the departments. I ended up by the time I was 16, I learned that you can leave high school and go to a continuation school and go to school 1 hour a week and work
What?
full time. And I was like, I'm going to do that. So I asked for that, which you have to literally get kicked out of school, but I asked to get kicked out of school. So they had a big meeting with like police and my mom, and they looked at my mom and they're like, if you say okay, we'll let her do this. And so she said okay. And I got myself kicked out of school. I went to the continuation school and I went 1 hour a week. It was the most amazing thing ever. I moved out of my parents' house. I was 16 years old and I was working full time. Now, I
Wow.
wasn't saving my money like you. Well, I was saving it, but I was spending it. So by the time I was 16, I discovered that I could internationally travel by myself. That's where I blew my money, although I'm still happy with the investment. So I went and visited. My friend moved to France with her mom. I went and visited them in France, traveled around Europe. Came back, decided I was traveling by myself. So 16-year-old, I didn't know any French. I had a
That's
French name. I
crazy.
almost missed my planes because they didn't know I didn't speak French because my entire name is French. So anyways, so I had a wild adventure in Europe and then just started spending all my money on traveling. I went to school to learn Spanish in South America. I did multiple countries. And actually,
Wow.
yeah, actually that was the first time I went to Florida was I had to go to Florida to
Oh,
go to
okay.
America. So, but I've never been out of like the airport. Um, so yeah, so I did a lot of traveling. I was living on my own. College really wasn't, I was getting myself kicked out of high school. Like, why was I going to voluntarily go to school? College was not in my mind at all. But I ended up taking art classes at college and decided I liked college. And so I ended up staying and then doing all the college. Of course, getting out loans. So I went to a private school instead of doing the free state school. So I do have
Mm,
some things I would have done differently, I guess.
yeah.
And I never contributed to a 401k. So in hindsight, the second I got that job at 14, if they had offered it to me, which legally they're not required to offer you a 401k until you're 18,
Mm.
but they can, like in your case, they did. If I had been offered it, which I probably had, I had no idea, I would have contributed for sure in hindsight. And then also in hindsight, I would have saved more money and perhaps gone to the free state school instead of the private school so that I wouldn't have had to rack up those bills that I had to pay later with interest, which was not fun.
When did you start going to college? Uh, like,
Probably 17. So I
okay.
got to graduate. Part of the continuation school is it's really easy to graduate. So I graduated a year early from high school. So I graduated at 17. No plans to really go to college or anything. I just started, messing around, like taking figure painting. And I just really liked it. And then I, was like, oh, well, I wonder what these other classes are. And so I just kept taking classes. And at a certain point, I just became a full-time student and realized okay, I'm actually going to I was going to pursue interior design at that point. And so I was
Mm.
trying to get all the courses to do that.
And so you took out student loans for like 100% of everything?
No. So at that
Okay.
time, so my family was super low income. So I qualified for every scholarship and grant under the sun. So I
Wow,
was
cool.
actually turning a profit going to college
Wow.
for some of my living expenses. So I was doing great. My issue was I could have gone to a private school right away, or I could have waited a semester and gotten all the requirements together to go to state school. And the
Mm.
state school was going to be free. And
Okay.
with my 19-year-old brain, I decided, why wait? I want the degree right now. And so I went to a school that cost $10,000 a year. I got a bunch of scholarships. It was probably $35,000 a year, but for me, it cost $5,000 a semester. And so I chose the $10,000 a year school over the zero. And now my 33-year-old brain is like, oh man. So in hindsight, I would have made a different choice. In the grand scheme of things, waiting 4 months, having a
Mm.
degree 4 months later, literally is not worth $10,000 a year in cost,
Right.
for me. And I understand the difference in quality of education. I loved my school. It was in my county, which is one of the only, I think it's the only university in my county. It's a tiny little Catholic university with I don't know, 1,000 students. So it was great. It was very intimate. I maybe have had a different experience at a state school. So this is all
Mm.
a assumption,
Yeah.
looking at the numbers, I would have chose the state school, even if the education wouldn't have been as intimate and as great.
Yeah. How much student loan did you come out with?
So I went to two different private schools because initially I was going to do interior architecture and I changed my mind. So I went to art school, which was private. I spent one semester there, so I racked up $5,000 there. Decided I didn't want to do it. Came back to the community college, respecialized in psychology, moved to the little private university that I was talking about, which was also $5,000 a semester. So I did 2 years there. So it was $25,000, and then I didn't pay it for a very long time. All of it was subsidized for the most part. So that means
Okay.
that when you're looking at subsidized and unsubsidized loans for college, it's really important that you understand what that means. So subsidized is when the interest is not accruing while you're in school and for the 6 month grace period after school, and unsubsidized means the interest starts accruing right away. So for the most part, mine were subsidized. So I didn't have to worry about the interest until I graduated, although instead of jumping on it and paying them off when I graduated, I did not.
Uh,
I did accrue some interest, and so they ended up costing more than $25,000, unfortunately, for me.
right. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
the pain.
Yeah.
I what I did was I did dual enrollment when I was in high school. So I don't know if that's like only in Florida. So check your state, but that's where you are still like a student of the high school, but the high school pays for college classes, and you have to like check in at the high school, and then you go to the college class at, whenever it's scheduled. um, so I like tried that out my like 11th grade summer, and I was like, oh, this is kind of nice. Like I feel, like that fresh like college vibe gets everybody. So come like senior year, I was like, yeah, for sure, 100%, let me do this. So I was taking, art classes and all the basics really. And I realized like I was going to a community college. So the high school was paying for the community college credits, but I realized I wanted to go to a private university to study fashion design. Now, there was only one other like state college that was offering like fashion merchandising, which isn't what I really wanted to do. So I don't know if I had another option really for other than private, unless I went out of state, and then you would be paying out of state tuition. But what I ended up doing, I transferred the credits from my community college to that university. So like all the classes that were paid for free, the university accepted, and the university, they were charging $1,000 per class. So I got like 30 plus classes for free, which saved me like 30 grand. And then I got a couple scholarships, not like any crazy amount. And then I had that $20,000 that I saved when I was working, in high school. I wish in hindsight, like eventually when I jumped around jobs trying to like earn a little more, employers that I was working for, they offered college like support so that they would help pay for a little bit. And I did not take it. So stupid.
Oh no.
It's money on the table.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, in hindsight, like, I think like I would have like my job, like, you know what, whatever, wherever you're working as a teenager, yeah, maybe you're growing like soft skills, and maybe it's in an industry or area that you're really interested in, but focusing on that income, if you want to pay for college or whatever that next step is, like it's really important. And then looking at those avenues.
Yeah, even with postgraduate, I got some of my master's degree paid for by my employer, because some employers have tuition reimbursement programs, and I was working for the county and they had a $3,000 tuition reimbursement, which helps, and I went to a state school because I learned my lesson. So I went to a state school for my master's degree, and that's what I tell my partner. He wants a master's degree. I'm like, great, there are jobs that will have tuition reimbursement, and not like that should be the only deciding factor for the job, but it's valuable. And know your benefits. I think that's like number one. What you make per hour is one thing, and that's important, but know all of your benefits, because some of them are actually extremely valuable, like employee assistance programs, tuition reimbursement, what type of health insurance they're offering. Is there an HSA? Do they match with their 401k? That's important, and that adds to the value of the job. Their vacation policy, how much vacation, how much sick time you get. I mean, as a young person, I was not thinking about that at all. I was thinking about how much money do I get at the end of the week to blow it on food and
organic ice cream.
Yeah, I wish I was only eating organic ice cream. I know. Junking out at that point, but
I was working at fast food restaurants.
Yeah.
No, that's such a great point. Like, know your benefits. I think that would have been great if I had like that, like sit down conversation with my parents, especially coming out of college, throughout high school. That would be great too, because there's a lot of jobs that you can work at that have all that. And then going into your first job, like my first job, I know they had zero benefits, and it was 2008. Everyone should know what happened in 2008, 08, 09. So they actually ended up going down to like a 4-day work week. Like this is like negative benefits. And they're like, hey, we want to keep the doors open, so we're going down a 4-day 4-day work week. So there was definitely no benefits. So that kind of like when I went to my second job after that, I didn't really think about benefits because I didn't have it the first go around. I was definitely making like more income than when I was in high school. It wasn't at par of what my like degree and experience was. But that came later. But I was definitely making money and just spending it. Like I lived in Fort Lauderdale, Miami area. Like me and my husband met dancing. Like that just explains all the lifestyle choices. I was still like a little mindful where I lived with friends, so it kind of offset that rental income. I was still like I had like some frugal mindsets where okay, I'll bring like my picnic lunch or whatever. We don't need to go out to eat everywhere. And I like thrifting and stuff. So I think a lot of that helped, but there was definitely like creep.
Yeah.
Did you feel that?
The lifestyle creep?
Yeah.
Um,
Or not so much?
yes and no. I mean, I grew up in a very wealthy area as a in a low income family. And I think that's shaped a lot of my experience, always having the not as nice home. I think when I initially started working, and I started working really young, as we all just talked about. So I learned a little bit about money through that experience. I think it was really helpful. Like I learned like money comes and it just like goes, and sometimes you have something to show for it and sometimes you don't. I think that when I graduated college, I was really focused on getting experience. And my field, you don't make a lot of money. So already I had a pretty low expectation. And I was living in an extremely expensive area of just like, $1 million homes. And I was in this tiny little apartment. And for whatever reason, I got really into riding my bike. And I just, my focus areas were kind of more philosophical, and I kind of didn't get caught up in it because I think I was so used to not looking like everyone else and not having the means that it never really occurred to me to reach for it anyway, or even pretend or try. So I didn't get hooked into it too much, although I had my own things like going to buy boutique tea or like getting this organic stir fry, so I had these ways where money would drain out, but I never got caught in so much to the lifestyle inflation. I did get a new car. I remember the process of doing that. That was about 10 years ago, and I still have the car. It's the only kind of like big purchase that was like super shiny that I ever made, and it was like a $19,000 Prius C, so it wasn't like I was going wild. But
Was it used or new?
It was new, so I was leasing a brand new car.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you do that again?
No, I don't think so. So when I brought my husband over, he eventually he learned how to drive and he got a driver's license, and it was time for him to get a car. And I was like, we're definitely not getting a brand new car. I mean, it didn't even occur to both of us. I found like Hertz car rentals, they sell them after like a year of use. And I just thought, why not just take a chance? You rent it for like 3 days. If you like it, you get to buy it, and you don't
cool.
And if you don't like it, you just give it back. So we got a 1-year-old car. It had 40,000 miles on it. It's a little Mitsubishi Mirage, just this tiny little bug. But you know what? Like, knock on wood, it's had zero problems. We've had it now for 8 years.
Wow.
It's been a great little car. We took it to the mechanic when we had the 3-day rental period. It was fine. So I was like, okay. So it was just like, it's one of those things where you balance, like it's more of a psychological thing, right? Like, stress am I willing to go through to get like a cheaper used private sale car versus just like this easy route that, like, yeah, it's a little bit more of a risk. I might be paying a little bit more of a premium, but like at the end of the day, I have a good car that works, and I didn't pay for a new car. I still got that to benefit from the depreciation. So if I ever need another car, I might probably go that route or something, less anxiety provoking for me, even if it costs a little bit more.
Yeah, that's my car that I got recently, or I don't know, I guess it's like now that's 2023, it's like 2 years old or something. But yeah, it was a lease, it was a rental. So I felt really good about that because they really don't have a lot of wear and tear. So I bought it used as a rental. So that's a really great option for people who are looking out for that, especially as like young adults. Like your driving skills are just not as on par. I haven't had as much experience driving. So that's a really great car option. So I found like financial independence as a young adult I don't know, 26. And I had already like been doing some like money savvy things, the 20,000 dual enrollment, college hacked, buying used cars, living with friends. But I didn't realize that was like anything, important or out of the ordinary. But then when I found this article on Forbes about retiring early, like this guy retired in his 30s, early retirement extreme, and I was like, wait, what? And I'm here at like work, like talking to all my peers, and they're like, I'm doing this until I'm 65. And I'm like, whoa, this is like, I'm in a stressful, fast-paced environment where everything is the bottom line, everything is late. I work in the fashion industry, manufacturing. So I was like, oh my God, I don't know if I have enough energy to do this until I'm 65. So when I read that article, I was like, wait, what? You can retire early? Like, nobody is saying this. So I'm asking my friends, like, hey, are you doing anything about retirement? Blah, blah, blah. And they're like, forget about it. I have student loans. I have, a wedding to pay for. And then my older peers, I'm asking them, they're like, for sure they should have a 401k. And they're like, oh, just don't worry about it. Just put some money in it. You'll get there when you get there. And I'm like, I don't have time to get there when I get there. Like, I need to get there today. Like, they are making, 2008, 4-day work week, went to another job, layoffs, layoffs, layoffs. So that's my industry. I'm like, that's a huge stress. Like, I need financial security. So reading this was like savior. When I found that information, like, even though I've done a lot of money savvy things leading up to that, like, I like put myself in gear. I was like, all right, I went down the rabbit hole. I read so many financial independence blogs and started YouTubing and was like, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? Okay, max out 401k. I can do that. Come up with a budget, track my expenses, reduce my expenses, no problem. Like, once I had visibility of like what I could achieve, everything else kind of became a little bit easier. Calling different like services to lower my bill, like car insurance, internet, stuff like that. Started travel hacking, started doing like credit card churning, manufacturer spending, paying my rent with like credit card sign up bonuses. I would go to Walmart, get money orders, pay with them with a credit card, and then pay the rent with that. So it's just like amassing all this like sign up bonuses, side money, selling on Facebook, saving as much as I could so that I could reach that financial independence. When you learned about financial independence, did it change your life in any way?
Yeah, I wish I remember the moment I learned about it, but I just have a vague idea that it must have been around the time that I opened my first Vanguard account and funded my Roth IRA, because I imagine I learned about the Roth IRA through my kind of internet explorations. But that was 2014, 2015. That was also the time I was getting married, sponsoring someone to come here, which is not cheap, and then supporting them while they're getting accustomed to living in a new country. So that wasn't exactly the most frugal time of my life, although I had a pretty frugal wedding at that time. And that's around the time that I bought that leased car. It's also the same time I bought my home. So part of kind of living with a low income family, a family that my parents lost their home through bankruptcy when I was 16.
Wow.
I had this kind of really pressing need to like have security, and what I thought security was to own your own home. Whatever size, right? So I was one person. I qualified for a 1-bedroom condo, and that's what I bought in 2014. So at that time, I was kind of learning about finances, right? I learned what a down payment, like how to get a home, etc. Had to kind of qualify for that, and then I think I just, it got more and more complex, and I went further and further down the rabbit hole, I think. And by 2015, 16, I think I was all in. We were doing all sorts of wacky things, like, renting out our couch on Airbnb. So our living room was an Airbnb for somebody, and we had like a divider, and we lived in the bedroom, and we shared the kitchen. I mean, and this is like a 700 square foot place. So imagine renting out living room, but I live in the Bay Area. People wanted it. It was rented out all the time. And then from that, we thought like, instead of renting it out to humans, let's rent it out to dogs. And so we did dog boarding because it was more private, right, for us. And then you don't even just get one dog, you get multiple dogs. And we had this booming dog boarding business. And we were saving all the money from that, right?
Wow.
And so it's just kind of gone on from there. Like the thing is, I think the biggest difference between you and me is that you're in a low cost of living with a high salary for your area, right? Your engineer is part of like the word of, the name of your job or your title. Yeah. I'm a social worker in the Bay Area. So, yeah, it's just kind of funny. Like it's not been, I think I've had to keep my costs like so low to even remotely be able to do this. And this home has been like probably the foundation of that, being able to live tiny with kids and being okay with that. And it's just gotten more and more complex. My idea of financial independence and what that means and like the philosophy of it and living a life where you don't have to worry about money. I mean, that's really my dream. Like my parents, I think my mom's maybe 66 or 67 at this point. My dad is 76. They can't retire. And here I am potentially able to retire if I want to at 40. And I think that's the power of FI, right? And that's why I'm so passionate about it. And that's why I love it. And I'm reading all the books and it's stuck with me, right? Like something to stick with you from 2015 to now and still be passionate about it. I mean, I think we're onto something. It's exciting. So I want everyone to know about it and get as excited as I am. I mean, if I can do it as a social worker in the Bay Area with 2 kids and I don't make a lot of money, I don't know, a lot of people can. Not everybody, but a lot if I can.
I totally agree. I feel like this is for everybody, even if you think that you're never going to reach financial independence. It is a journey that everyone should be on, really. Knowing your personal finances gives you a lot of control over your life, over the choices that you need to make, because our life, everything evolves around money. Like we don't want to hear that, but it's the truth. I'm teaching my daughter, like, okay, if we're going to buy that, it takes money. Like we can't just have everything. We can't buy everything. She wants another baby doll and another baby doll. Like, so, it's just the reality. Like everything evolves around money. The more money that we keep in our pocket, the less we have to work for it. And as we put that money in our pocket, we invest it and let it grow. And then that starts to outbalance any kind of income that we would be earning. And here as mamas, both of us have kids, we want more time in our life. And, that's what a lot of people are, saving for in for their retirement, to have that bulk of time back so that they can live their life out. But we can achieve that now through different life hacks and being savvy, being frugal, controlling our expenses, and investing as much as we can. Let's go back to work.
Okay, bye.
If you have enjoyed the show, please share with another Scrunchy Mama and hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. For show notes, resources, and links to our other video shorts, check out our website, scrunchify.com.